The Midnight Assignment. The harsh buzzing of the door chime cut through the silence of Lieutenant Jake Morrison's quarters. He glanced at the chronometer on the wall. 2300 hours, far too late for casual visitors. Setting down his tactical datapad, he rose from the worn leather chair and crossed the room. His military training made him cautious, even in the safety of the Harmony Station's residential sector. "Who is it?" he called out, his hand hovering near the access panel. "Hi, I'm Zara, the girl assigned to you by the Galactic Integration Program," came a soft, melodic voice from the other side, tinged with nervousness. Jake's brow furrowed in confusion as he activated the door mechanism. The panel slid open with a quiet hiss to reveal a breathtaking sight that made his breath catch. Standing before him was a stunningly beautiful woman with luminous purple skin that seemed to shimmer under the corridor lights. Her long silver hair cascaded past her shoulders in gentle waves, and her eyes, large and expressive with swirls of violet and gold, regarded him with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. She wore a simple but elegant white dress that hugged her curvy figure, the fabric flowing down to mid-thigh and leaving her toned arms bare. A silver pendant rested against her collarbone, catching the light as she shifted her weight nervously. Assigned to me?" Jake stammered, his usual composure completely shattered by this gorgeous alien woman appearing at his doorstep unannounced. "Yes," Zara replied, her voice carrying a lilting accent he couldn't identify. She clutched a small travel bag in her hands. "I know this must be very surprising. May I come in so I can explain properly?" Jake's mind raced, but his manners kicked in automatically. "Of course, please." He stepped aside, gesturing for her to enter. Zara glided past him with fluid grace, and Jake caught a hint of her scent, something like exotic flowers mixed with vanilla. His heart rate kicked up a notch as he fought to maintain his professional demeanor. He was a decorated officer, for crying out loud. He shouldn't be getting flustered by a beautiful woman, even if she was an alien who just appeared at his door claiming to be assigned to him. "Can I get you something to drink?" Jake offered, closing the door and following her into the living area. "Water, tea, something stronger, perhaps?" "Water would be wonderful, thank you." Zara set her bag down near the couch before perching on its edge. Her posture was graceful but tense. Jake moved to the small kitchen alcove, grateful for the moment to collect himself. He filled 2 glasses with cold water from the dispenser, his hands steady despite his inner turmoil. When he returned, he handed her a glass and took a seat in the armchair across from her, maintaining what he hoped was a respectful distance. "So, tell me about this Galactic Integration Program. I'm not familiar with it." Zara's fingers traced the rim of her glass nervously. "It's a new initiative started by the Council of United Worlds about 6 months ago. You see, my people, the Krillians, we've been experiencing a population decline for several decades now. A genetic condition has affected our fertility rates dramatically." Jake nodded, encouraging her to continue. He'd heard rumors about various species facing demographic challenges, but hadn't paid much attention. The council believed that cross-species partnerships might help preserve genetic diversity and boost population numbers, Zara went on, her cheeks darkening to a deeper shade of purple as she spoke. They created this program where willing Krillian women of childbearing age are matched with compatible males from other species that are stationed in our territories. "And you volunteered for this?" Jake asked, trying to keep judgment out of his voice. "I did," Zara confirmed, meeting his gaze directly. "My family, we've always believed in the greater good, and when the council put out the call, I felt it was my duty to contribute. I underwent months of psychological evaluation and compatibility testing before being matched with you." Jake sat back, processing this information. "I have to be honest, Zara, this is a lot to take in." He ran a hand through his dark hair. "On Earth, we don't really arrange partnerships like this. People usually get together because they choose to, because there's mutual attraction and compatibility that develops naturally." "I understand," Zara quickly said, her expression falling slightly. I know this must seem very strange to you, and please, I don't want you to feel any pressure or obligation towards me." She bit her lower lip, a gesture that Jake found surprisingly endearing. "The truth is, now that I've been assigned here, I don't really have anywhere else to go." Jake's protective instincts kicked in immediately. Regardless of how bizarre this situation was, she was clearly vulnerable and in need of help. "Hey, it's okay," he said gently, leaning forward. "Look, I'm not going to turn you away. That's not who I am. But we need to establish some understanding here." Hope bloomed in Zara's eyes as she straightened. "Of course, anything you need." "First," Jake said firmly, but kindly, "I want you to know that you're safe here. I'm not going to, I don't expect anything from you. Nothing inappropriate." He felt heat rise in his cheeks but pressed on. "Second, you're welcome to stay in my spare bedroom for as long as you need. We'll figure out the details as we go." "Thank you," Zara breathed, relief washing over her features. "I was so worried you might turn away," Jake finished, shaking his head. "I'm a lot of things, but I try not to be cruel. Besides," he offered a small smile, "maybe we can use this time to get to know each other as people first. No pressure, no expectations, just friends." Zara's face lit up with a radiant smile that made Jake's heart skip. "I would like that very much." "Good." Jake stood and gestured toward the hallway. "Let me show you to your room. It's not fancy, but it's comfortable. You've probably had a long day." As Zara rose and collected her bag, Jake led her down the short corridor to the guest bedroom. He opened the door to reveal a modest but clean space with a comfortable bed, a small desk, and a window overlooking the station's inner courtyard where bioluminescent plants created a soft glow. "The bathroom is just across the hall. Feel free to use anything you need. Towels are in the cabinet, and if you get hungry during the night, help yourself to whatever's in the kitchen." "This is perfect," Zara said warmly, setting her bag on the bed. "You've been so kind, Jake. I'm very grateful to have been matched with someone like you." "Just trying to do the right thing," Jake replied, suddenly feeling awkward standing in the doorway. "Well, I'll let you get settled. If you need anything at all, my room is at the end of the hall. Don't hesitate to ask." "Good night, Jake," Zara said softly, her eyes holding his for a moment longer than necessary. "Good night, Zara." He responded before turning and heading back to his own room. As Jake closed his bedroom door behind him and leaned against it, he let out a long breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. His life had just taken an unexpected turn, and he had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But as he climbed into bed and stared at the ceiling, he couldn't help but smile slightly at the thought of the beautiful purple-skinned woman now sleeping just down the hall. Whatever challenges lay ahead, something told him his life was about to become far more interesting.
Learning each other. The morning sunlight filtered through the windows as Jake stood in his small kitchen preparing breakfast with practiced efficiency. He'd been awake for an hour already. His military training made sleeping in nearly impossible. The smell of brewing coffee filled the air as he cracked eggs into a pan, wondering if Zara even ate earth food. "Good morning," came a soft voice from behind him. Jake turned to find Zara standing in the doorway, her silver hair slightly tousled from sleep. She wore a simple lavender sleep dress that fell to her knees, and even without makeup, she was absolutely stunning. The morning light made her purple skin seem to glow with an inner radiance. "Morning," Jake replied with a warm smile. "I hope I didn't wake you. I was trying to be quiet." "No, I've been awake for a while anyway," Zara admitted, moving closer to peer at what he was cooking. "I was just nervous about coming out. Didn't want to intrude on your routine." "You're not intruding," Jake assured her, gesturing to the counter. "I'm making scrambled eggs and toast. I wasn't sure what Krillians eat for breakfast, though." Zara's eyes lit up with interest. "We can eat most of the same foods as humans, actually. Our biology is quite similar despite the obvious differences." She paused, a playful smile crossing her lips. "Though I've never tried earth eggs before, I'm curious." "Well then, you're in for a treat," Jake said, dividing the fluffy eggs on the 2 plates and adding buttered toast. "It's nothing fancy, but it's filling." They settled at the small dining table, and Jake watched with amusement as Zara took her first cautious bite. Her eyes widened in surprise and pleasure. "This is delicious!" she exclaimed, taking another enthusiastic forkful. "The texture is so light and the flavor is— Oh, what did you put in here?" "Just a little salt, pepper, and butter." Jake chuckled at her enthusiasm. "Wait until you try bacon. Now that's something special." They ate in comfortable silence for a few moments before Zara spoke again. "So, what do you usually do with your days? I don't want to disrupt your life too much." "I work at the military command center most days, usually from 0800 to 1700 hours, but my schedule can vary. What about you? What did you do back on your home world?" Zara's expression grew wistful. "I was a cultural anthropologist. I studied the traditions and customs of different species. It's partly why I volunteered for this program, actually. The opportunity to live among another culture, to really understand it from the inside. It fascinated me." "That's actually pretty perfect given our situation. You can study human culture up close and personal. And you can learn about Krillian ways," Zara added with a grin. "Fair exchange." Over the next several days, they fell into an easy rhythm. Jake would leave for work in the mornings while Zara explored his apartment and the residential district of the station. In the evenings, they would cook dinner together, Zara teaching Jake about Krillian spices and cooking techniques while he introduced her to Earth cuisine. On the fourth evening, Jake came home to find Zara in the kitchen, surrounded by various ingredients and looking frustrated. "Everything okay?" he asked, loosening his uniform collar. "I'm trying to make a traditional Krillian dish called Stellara stew," Zara explained, gesturing helplessly at the pots on the stove. "But I can't get the consistency right with Earth ingredients. It keeps coming out too thick." He moved beside her to examine the bubbling purple mixture. His shoulder brushed against hers, and he felt a jolt of electricity at the contact. "What's it supposed to look like?" "More like a soup than a paste," Zara sighed. Then her eyes brightened. "Wait, maybe if we add more of the vegetable broth." "Here, let me help." Jake reached for the broth container at the same time Zara did, their hands colliding and then intertwining. They both froze, suddenly hyper-aware of how close they were standing. Jake could feel the warmth radiating from her body, could smell that intoxicating floral scent that seemed to surround her. "Jake?" Zara whispered, her violet eyes searching his face. He should step back, maintain that professional distance he'd promised himself, but instead he found himself leaning closer. "Yeah?" Nothing," she said softly, but she didn't move away either. The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken tension. Finally, Jake cleared his throat and gently extracted his hand from hers. "The broth, right?" "Right," Zara agreed, her cheeks darkening to that deeper purple shade she was beginning to recognize as a blush. They managed to save the Stellara stew, and it turned out to be delicious. A rich, savory soup with hints of something that reminded Jake of cinnamon and starfruit. As they ate on the couch, Zara insisted on introducing Jake to Krillian entertainment. "This is one of our most popular shows," she explained, activating a holographic display that projected above the coffee table. "It's a historical drama about the founding of our first space colonies." Jake tried to follow the plot, but found himself distracted by Zara's animated commentary, the way her face lit up when explaining cultural nuances, the graceful gestures of her hands as she spoke, the musical quality of her laughter when something amusing happened on screen. "You're not even watching," Zara accused playfully, catching him staring at her. "I'm watching," Jake protested, "just multitasking." "Multitasking," Zara repeated, her lips quirking into a knowing smile. "Is that what we're calling it?" "What would you call it?" Jake challenged, surprised by his own boldness. Zara's expression grew more serious as she shifted to face him fully. "I'd call it two people who are trying very hard to maintain boundaries that are becoming increasingly difficult to respect." Jake's heart thundered in his chest. "Zara, I don't want you to feel like— just because you're here doesn't mean—" "I know," she interrupted gently, placing her hand over his where it rested on the couch between them. You've made it very clear that I have a choice, that you're not expecting anything from me." She took a breath, her fingers tightening around his. "But what if I'm starting to want something? What if being near you is becoming the best part of my day? What if when you leave for work in the morning, I count the hours until you come home?" Jake felt like all the air had been sucked out of the room. I feel the same way," he admitted, his voice rough with emotion. "From the moment you showed up at my door, you've turned my whole world upside down. I think about you constantly, Zara, but I need to know this is real for you, not just because of the program." "It's real," Zara assured him, her free hand coming up to cup his cheek. "This is the realest thing I've ever felt." Jake turned his head slightly to press a kiss to her palm, this simple gesture making Zara's breath hitch. Emboldened, he brought his hand up to mirror hers, cradling her face gently. Her purple skin was warm and impossibly soft beneath his fingers. "Can I kiss you?" he asked, his thumb stroking her cheekbone. "Please," Zara breathed. Jake closed the distance between them slowly, giving her every opportunity to change her mind. When their lips finally met, it was soft and tentative at first, a gentle exploration. But then Zara made a small sound of pleasure and pressed closer, and the kiss deepened into something more urgent. Jake's hand slid into her silky hair while his other arm wrapped around his waist, pulling her against him. Zara's arms wound around his neck as she shifted to straddle his lap, never breaking the kiss. It was intoxicating, overwhelming, everything Jake had been trying not to think about for days. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Jake rested his forehead against hers. Yeah, Jake agreed, his hands settling on his hips. Even through the fabric of her dress, he could feel her warmth. "We should probably talk about this," Zara said, though she made no move to leave his lap. "Probably," Jake conceded, pressing a soft kiss to her temple. "But maybe we could just stay like this for a moment." "I'd like that," Zara murmured, nestling her head against his shoulder. They sat like that for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms, the Krillian show forgotten, as they simply held each other. And Jake realized that somewhere in the past few days, this had stopped being about obligation or programs or duty. It had become about two people finding something unexpected and precious in each other.
The public appearance. The following week passed in a blissful haze of stolen kisses and tender moments. Jake and Zara had decided to take things slowly despite the growing intensity of their attraction. They wanted to build something real and lasting, not just give in to physical desire, but resisting each other was becoming increasingly difficult with every passing day. On Friday evening, Jake received a message from his friend Marcus, inviting them to the Stellar Lounge, a popular upscale bar where off-duty military personnel and station residents gathered to unwind. "What do you think?" Jake asked Zara, as they sat together on the couch, his arm draped casually around her shoulders. "Would you like to meet some of my friends? No pressure if you're not ready." Zara's face brightened with excitement. "I'd love to. I've been curious about your life outside these walls, and it would be nice to socialize with others." "Great," Jake said, trying to ignore the nervous flutter in his stomach. "It's a pretty nice place, so we should probably dress up a bit. The guys can be... well, they can be a lot sometimes, but they mean well." "I'll be on my best behavior," Zara promised, with a playful smile, pressing a quick kiss to his cheek before disappearing into her bedroom to get ready. Jake retreated to his own room and changed into dark gray slacks, and a deep blue button-down shirt that Zara had once mentioned brought out his eyes. He ran some product through his hair and checked his reflection, wondering why he was so nervous. These were his friends, people he'd known for years. An hour later, Zara's door opened and Jake's jaw nearly hit the floor. She emerged wearing a form-fitting dress and a shimmering deep violet that perfectly complemented her purple skin. The dress had a sweetheart neckline that showcased her elegant collarbones and the gentle curve of her shoulders. It hugged her waist before flowing out slightly at the hips, ending just above her knees. Her silver hair was styled in an intricate updo with delicate crystal pins that caught the light, and her makeup was subtle but striking, emphasizing her extraordinary eyes. "Is this okay?" Zara asked, doing a small turn that made the dress shimmer like starlight. "I wasn't sure what would be appropriate."
Jake had to swallow twice before he could speak. "You look absolutely incredible," he managed, his voice coming out rougher than intended. "Stunning. Beautiful. Like something out of a dream." A delighted blush colored Zara's cheeks as she moved closer to him. "You look very handsome yourself," she said, her fingers coming up to adjust his color unnecessarily. "Very handsome indeed." Jake caught her hand and brought it to his lips. "We should go before I decide to keep you here all to myself," he murmured against her knuckles. The stellar lounge was already packed when they arrived. Beings of various species mingled beneath floating light orbs that cast a warm amber glow throughout the space. Soft music played from hidden speakers, and the bar along the back wall glowed with bioluminescent panels. Jake spotted his friends at a corner table and guided Zara through the crowd with a protective hand on the small of her back. He could feel eyes following them, could sense the appreciative stares directed at his beautiful companion. Something possessive and primal stirred in his chest. "Jake, my man," Marcus called out as they approached, the tall, dark-skinned humans to greet them with a wide grin. "About time you showed up." "Sorry we're late. Everyone, I'd like you to meet Zara. Zara, these are my friends and colleagues, Marcus, Devin, Chen, and Riley." The four men stared at Zara with varying degrees of surprise and admiration. Marcus recovered first, his grin widening. "Well, hello there. Aren't you just absolutely gorgeous? Jake, you lucky dog. Where have you been hiding this stunning creature?" "It's wonderful to meet you all," Zara said, warmly, her smile genuine and friendly. "Jake has told me so much about you." "Funny, he hasn't mentioned you at all," Devin said, with mocked accusation. "Holding out on us, Morrison." Jake felt heat creep up his neck. It's a bit complicated." "I'm part of the integration program," Zara explained smoothly, settling into the chair Jake pulled out for her. "We're getting to know each other and seeing where things might lead." "The integration program," Chen said. A slender man with sharp features leaned forward with interest. "Pretty forward-thinking initiative." "And Jake just happened to get matched with the most beautiful woman on the station," Riley added with a theatrical sigh. "Some guys have all the luck." "I'd say I'm the lucky one," Zara said, her hand finding Jake's under the table and giving it a squeeze. "Jake has been nothing but kind and respectful. I couldn't have asked for a better match." Jake felt warmth bloom in his chest at her words. He squeezed her hand back, grateful for her unwavering support. "So, Zara," Marcus said, leaning back in his chair with a charming smile, "tell us about yourself. What do you do? What are your interests? What's a gorgeous alien woman like you doing with a boring military guy like Jake?" "Hey!" Jake protested, but Zara laughed, the sound like music. "Jake is far from boring," she defended, "and I'm a cultural anthropologist. I study different species and their traditions. As for interests, I love music, art, learning new things, and lately, I've discovered I quite enjoy earth cooking." "A woman of culture and beauty," Devin said appreciatively. "Jake, you better hold on to this one." "Trust me, I intend to," Jake replied, his tone carrying an edge of possessiveness he couldn't quite hide. The evening progressed with flowing conversation and laughter. Zara charmed them all with her intelligence, wit, and genuine interest in their stories. She asked thoughtful questions and shared fascinating anecdotes about Krillian culture that had them all enthralled. But Jake couldn't help noticing the way his friends looked at her, the way their gazes would linger a bit too long on the curve of her neck, or the expanse of purple skin visible at her neckline. The way Marcus found excuses to lean closer when talking to her. The way Riley's compliments became increasingly flirtatious. "You know, Zara," Marcus said during a lull in conversation, "if things don't work out with Jake here, I'd be more than happy to show you around the station, give you a proper tour." Jake's jaw clenched. "I think she's seen plenty of the station, Marcus." "Just offering to be helpful," Marcus replied, with an innocent shrug, but his eyes held a teasing glint. "That's very kind," Zara said diplomatically, "but I'm quite happy with my current tour guide." "Can I get you another drink, Sarah?" Riley offered, already half standing. "That one's looking pretty empty." "I'll get it," Jake said, firmly, standing abruptly. "Zara, what would you like?" "Just some of that crystal wine," Zara replied, looking up at him with concern in her eyes, clearly sensing his tension. "I'll come with you," she added, rising gracefully and linking her arm through his. As they made their way to the bar, Zara pulled him to a quieter corner. "Are you all right?" she asked softly, her hand coming up to rest on his chest.
I'm fine, Jake said, then sighed. No, I'm not fine. I hate the way they're looking at you, like you're some prize to be won, and Marcus with his offers to show you around the station, like we're not. Jake, Zara interrupted gently, her thumb stroking his cheek. I only have eyes for you. Surely you know that by now. I know. I do know that. It's just seeing other men appreciate how incredible you are, it makes me want to tell the whole station that you're mine. Then tell them, Zara said simply, her eyes holding his with unwavering intensity. I am yours, Jake, if you want me to be. Jake's breath caught. You're sure? Because once I claim you as mine, I'm not letting go. I'm counting on it, Zara whispered, rising on her toes to press a soft kiss to his lips, right there in the middle of the crowded lounge. When they returned to the table, drinks in hand, Jake kept his arm firmly around Zara, making his claim clear to anyone watching. His friends exchanged knowing glances, but wisely kept their flirtatious comments to themselves for the rest of the evening. As the night wore on, Jake found himself relaxing, especially when Zara would lean into him, or rest her hand on his thigh, or press soft kisses to his temple when she thought no one was looking. These small gestures of affection meant everything to him. You two are disgustingly cute together, Devin observed with a grin. Never thought I'd see the day Jake Morrison went all soft for someone. Neither did I, Jake admitted, looking down at Zara with undisguised affection. But here we are. Here we are, Zara echoed, her smile radiant. By the time they said their goodbyes and caught a transport back to the apartment, the air between them was charged with electricity. They rode in silence, hands clasped tightly together, the tension building with each passing moment. When they finally reached Jake's door, he could barely get the code entered correctly. His hands were shaking with anticipation.
Crossing the line. The door had barely closed behind them before Jake pulled Zara into his arms, his mouth finding hers in a searing kiss that made her gasp with pleasure. All the tension from the evening, all the restrained desire from the past weeks came flooding out in that single heated moment. Jake, Zara breathed against his lips, her fingers tangling in his hair as he walked her backward toward the couch. Tell me to stop, Jake murmured, trailing kisses down her neck. Tell me if this is too much. Don't stop, Zara whispered, her head falling back to give him better access. Please don't stop. They collapsed onto the couch together, Zara straddling his lap as their kisses grew more desperate. Jake's hands roamed over her back, feeling the warmth of her skin through the thin fabric of her dress. Zara's fingers worked at the buttons of his shirt, her touch leaving trails of fire across his chest. I've wanted this, Jake confessed between kisses. Wanted you since that first night. Me too, Zara admitted, grinding against him in a way that made them both moan. I've dreamed about this. Jake's hands found the zipper at the back of her dress, slowly pulling it down as he peppered kisses across her collarbones. But as his fingers touched her bare skin, something in him hesitated. Clarity cut through the haze of desire like a knife. Wait, he said breathlessly, stilling his movements. Zara, wait. What's wrong? Zara asked, concern flooding her features as she pulled back slightly. Jake gently cupped her face in his hands, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. I need to know something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Anything, Zara promised. Are you doing this because you want to? Truly want to, or because you feel like it's expected of you? He searched her eyes. Because of the program, because you're living here, I need to know this is real for you, not just obligation. Zara's expression softened, her eyes filling with emotion. Oh, Jake, she whispered, her hands framing his face. This is the most real thing I've ever felt in my entire life. I'm not here because of some program anymore. I'm here because I'm falling in love with you. Jake's heart soared at her words. You're falling in love with me? Completely, Zara confirmed, her thumb stroking his cheek. Every moment with you, every laugh, every conversation, every touch, it's all shown me what love is supposed to feel like. I'm falling in love with you too, Jake confessed, his voice thick with emotion. So much that it terrifies me. I've never felt this way about anyone. Then why did we stop? Zara asked with a tender smile. Because I want to do this right, Jake explained, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. I want to court you properly, take you on real dates, show you how much you mean to me. You deserve that, Zara. You deserve to be cherished and treasured, not just rushed into things. Tears sparkled in Zara's eyes as she looked at him with wonder. How did I get so lucky to find you? I ask myself the same question every day, Jake replied, pulling her close and holding her against his chest. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms, hearts beating in sync. When Zara finally lifted her head, her smile was peaceful and content. So, proper courting, does that include romantic dates? Absolutely, Jake confirmed. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to plan the most perfect date you've ever experienced. I can't wait, Zara said, pressing a gentle kiss to his lips before reluctantly climbing off his lap. But for now, maybe we should get some rest before we lose our resolve entirely. Probably wise. Jake walked her to her bedroom door. Good night, Zara. Thank you for tonight. Thank you for being you, Zara replied, squeezing his hand. Sleep well, Jake. As her door closed softly, Jake leaned against the wall with a smile spreading across his face. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough.